The House That Watched. People always joked that pure evil lived on Maple Street. Kids threw rocks at the windows of the old house, and teenagers dared each other to cross its cracked porch. Adults just shook their heads. They knew there was nothing good in that house. Nearly every local had a story about the house on Maple Street. The elderly recalled strange screams that echoed from within when a family still lived there. Others claimed they'd seen a silhouette in the windows, a thin, hunched figure with its head tilted to one side. Some swore that dark liquid, thick like blood, sometimes seeped from beneath the warped porch boards. But most simply avoided the place, not wanting to know if the rumors were true. The house had stood at the end of Maple Street for as long as anyone could remember. Its windows were dark, hollow eyes, silently watching the town. The once white paint had peeled away like dead, rotting skin. People whispered about the family that vanished one winter's night decades ago. Some swore they'd seen shadows moving behind the windows. No one dared go near until David, Lucas, and Eric did. It started as a joke. Lucas had been egging them on all week. The night was colder than they expected. Clouds choked the moon, and the wind whispered through the trees. The three friends stood at the rusting gate, staring at the rotten steps of the porch. The front door was ajar, gaping like a silent mouth. The air inside was stale, heavy with dust, and something sharp, something rotten. Their footsteps thudded against warped floorboards. Faded wallpaper curled from the walls in twisted strips, and the ceiling sagged like tired skin. A narrow staircase wound upward, disappearing into the dark. Lucas climbed the stairs first. David cursed under his breath and followed. Eric lingered behind. The second floor was colder. The air felt thicker. One door stood slightly open. Inside, a small wooden rocking chair sat in the corner, turned away from them. The air shifted, a faint creak, like wood bending under pressure. The chair rocked. Forward, then back. Forward again. Lucas bolted for the door. David and Eric followed, their footsteps pounding on the stairs. The front door slammed shut before they reached it. David grabbed the handle, twisting and yanking, but it wouldn't budge. Above them, footsteps sounded. Slow, dragging footsteps that scraped unpleasantly across the floor. The three friends bolted into the nearest room and slammed the door. The footsteps stopped right outside. A shadow spilled beneath the crack in the door. The handle twisted. It turned back, then forward again. The shadow slid away, and the footsteps receded down the hall. It felt like hours before they dared to move. David peeked outside. The hallway was empty, and the front door hung wide open. They fled into the night, breathless, until they reached the safety of the street. The house stood silent behind them. After that night, they tried to forget what had happened. They told themselves it was just fear and darkness playing tricks on their minds. But the house on Maple Street didn't forget them. David started noticing things. Soft, shuffling sounds in empty rooms. The feeling of being watched in the mirror when he was alone. Cold seemed to seep into his bones, even on the hottest days. One night, he woke to the faint creak of a rocking chair. He crept downstairs and saw the chair swaying gently in the dark, though every window was shut tight. Lucas, always the skeptic, began to change. He grew withdrawn, irritable. Nightmares plagued him. He spent endless nights poring over old book and occult texts, trying to understand what they had awakened. One day, he told David he had found something. A legend about an ancient curse tied to the house on Maple Street. The story claimed that a family once lived there, practicing dark magic. Their rituals had summoned something evil, something that remained behind after they vanished. Eric, the quietest of the three, began to avoid his friends altogether. He stayed inside, curtains drawn, never answering his phone. One day, David and Lucas went to his house, but no one answered the door. They peered through a window and saw Eric sitting on the floor in the corner. His eyes were wide, staring at something unseen, frozen in silent terror. Days later, Eric was found dead in his room. There were no signs of violence, but his face was twisted in a mask of pure horror. The doctors couldn't explain what killed him. Whispers of the Maple Street curse spread through town, and fear gripped even the bravest souls. David and Lucas, the last two left, felt their time running out. Weeks passed after Eric's death. The town seemed darker, heavier. David and Lucas knew the curse wouldn't stop until it claimed them too. They decided they had only one option: to return to the house and uncover its secret. Armed with flashlights and grim determination, they stepped back into the house's decaying walls. They searched every room, every corner, desperate for a clue. In the basement, they found a hidden room bricked behind a crumbling wall. Inside was an ancient chest filled with strange artifacts, occult symbols, brittle photographs, and dust-covered books. One book described a ritual, a twisted ceremony meant to summon an ancient evil that could grant any desire, but only in exchange for human lives. David and Lucas realized they had awakened this evil, when they first entered the house. They had no choice. They had to reverse the ritual. That night, under the cold gaze of a full moon, they began the ritual using the items from the chest. The air thickened as they chanted from the faded pages. Suddenly, the candles flickered out, and a bone-chilling howl filled the house. Cold seeped into their bones, and the air reeked of decay. Shadows emerged from the darkness, shifting and twisted, their eyes glowing red. David and Lucas tried to continue the ritual, but their voices shook with fear. The shadows moved closer, reaching with skeletal fingers. Lucas screamed and collapsed, his body convulsing as if something inside him was tearing him apart. David realized he was alone. He turned to run, but the shadows surrounded him, cold hands dragging him down. His world spiraled into blackness. Days later, David's body was found in the basement of the Maple Street house. His face was twisted in a mask of terror, and in his hand, he clutched a torn page from the old book. The house on Maple Street still stands, silent and waiting. The locals know now. They know the evil never left. It's just waiting for someone new to step inside.